our General Manager of Qualmark New Zealand, Gregg Andreson. Mr. Andreson joined Tourism New Zealand in 1993 and went on to hold executive and general manager positions offshore for 21 years in Europe, the Americas and Australia. Returning to New Zealand in 2016, Gregg worked on the multi-agency Project Palace program, addressing shortfalls in hotel accommodation, and also led an Indian strategic market review. Today, he will share with us his experiences with quality assurance and sustainability programs. Please welcome Mr. Gregg Andreson.
Kia ora, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. Now, after listening to my esteemed colleagues talk about the commercial opportunities about the New Zealand-India tourism relationship, I'm sure you're wondering, why are they wheeling out a guy to talk about quality insurance at the end? But I just want to take a little bit of time just to talk about the New Zealand example with Qualmark and why it is, and why I believe it is important as a business area to address as we are talking about growth, just to make sure that the customer experience, sustainability and health and safety, all of those issues are addressed as numbers grow. Now, as it was outlined before, I actually joined Tourism New Zealand the same year that Qualmark came into being, so I feel a little bit of a dinosaur with this. But Qualmark was established back in 1993 as the official government quality assurance program. The mandate then was to enhance New Zealand's reputation as a world-class destination. It's like both Judy and Chris, we are a membership organisation. We are wholly owned by Tourism New Zealand, but we have licence holders, and currently between 1,600 and 1,700 licence holders, and I think I've seen a few out in the audience today. Tourism New Zealand took full ownership of Qualmark back in 2015. It was previously a joint venture with the Automobile Association, which is quite a common theme globally for quality assurance programs, particularly in the accommodation sector. And in 2016, it was refreshed as a sustainable tourism evaluation program. And that was about the time that I joined Qualmark, first as an assessor in the field, and then more recently taking over as the general manager role. I took over July 1, and most people say, because believe me, talking quality assurance is just not the most popular tourism job in the country. When you've spent 22 years trying to encourage people to visit New Zealand, which is a really great job to have, to actually tell people, well, your business is not quite as good as it should be. It's not quite the same sexy part of the tourism industry. But when people say, why did you join this? Why are you doing this? It's because of those 22 years away. And when I came back to New Zealand, I realised that we're never going to be the cheapest, we're never going to be the closest, therefore we need to be the best. And really, there were a lot of companies in New Zealand that weren't doing that well enough. And that's really why I'm in the job, because at worst people don't realise the opportunity, or at best they don't realise the opportunity that's there, and that particularly applies to India. At worst, they're doing a rubbish job of it. So why is this quality assurance so important? And this really ties into, and particularly in the Indian example, India is the most tech online destination in the world. So our reputation lives and dies on what people say about us. And the TripAdvisor and the user-generated content and review age, people are making judgments about who you are, what you do and how you serve them and satisfy their needs. So incredibly important that we address this. Incredibly important when you're in the tourism business and you're dealing with people from different nationalities all the time. Different nationalities that have different expectations, that have different dietary issues, different religious issues, really important that we understand those things and that we work hard to make sure that everybody has the same outstanding experience. So Qualmark is really about working with businesses to address the 6 drivers of preference for New Zealand, and they are around our landscape. Chris spoke about manaakitanga, spoke about kaitiakitanga, so it really is about those areas. It's about friendly people, friendly service, looking after the landscape, making sure New Zealand's a safe destination, helping companies put together unique experiences that meet the needs of their visitors. And it's about affordability, making sure that people benchmark both themselves against other companies in New Zealand, but also internationally. And also around clean and unpolluted. New Zealand is very fortunate, but we're very fortunate because we've got a small population base. And as Chris particularly spoke about, the pressure of numbers is changing some of those issues. So tourism companies need to make sure that they are doing their job, they are taking their responsibilities seriously, and they are working with the communities to make sure that they're a valued part and are a contributor. How do we do it? And sorry, lots of words, don't read them. 4 real areas. When we go in, visit on-site with companies for probably 2.5, 3 hours, we look at their business practices, so the economics of the business, and that's everything. If you're a hotel, it's do you have schedules to make sure you clean the rooms? How do you check for consistency there? It's about social and people, so it is about service standards. How do you measure service standards? How do you maintain service standards? How do you respond to your customers' feedback, and how do you collect it? And that's important across multiple markets. It's about the environment and the culture. So it is what your carbon footprint is and what you are doing to mitigate that, how you're sharing that with your staff and through your practices, and how you're sharing that with your guests. Importantly, it is also about the culture of New Zealand and also about appreciating and understanding the culture of your visitors so that you are showing respect and dignity and understanding. And then finally, and a really big part since this new sustainable measure was introduced, is health and safety. It's about your duty of care to the people that are coming to stay with you. Now that can, and we work very closely with Judy and all of her members where Qualmark is compulsory. It is everything to make sure that if you're putting people in a coach, you know that that coach is roadworthy, the drivers are trained, everything's up to standard. Similarly in hotels, that there's evacuation plans in place, everything's up to date. If you're using activity operators, what assessments have you made? Are they operating legally and compliantly with all regulations? So all of those, and also for hotels, we do a separate star gradings process where you walk in and lift the corners of the beds and check the sheets have been made and check the bathrooms that they're clean and everything. Not the side of the business I enjoy. It's spent too much of my life in hotels. So, look, really, what are the outputs? Because we can spend 3 hours, and it's really, I have 11 people travelling around New Zealand doing this work, and it's really about changing the culture from an audit to a culture where we're helping people understand why they're doing their jobs and how they can improve it. So why do people want to be engaged with us, or what do they take out of it? What are the outputs? 3 really. One is about business improvement, and we believe that through our knowledge base, through Tourism New Zealand resources and other industry resources, we can really help many businesses with their practices. Now that might be simple business advice, right through to perhaps industry benchmarking or making sure people are compliant in areas and giving them checklists and other business tools. It's also identifying poor performance and good performance, so that's important. Another area is helping them with their marketing, and it's recognising their sustainable performance. So as we're owned by Tourism New Zealand, there are a lot of Tourism New Zealand benefits that accrue to you if you're Qualmarked. Qualmark comes with a gold, silver, bronze certification. That will help how you're positioned on things like newzealand.com. It will help you in terms of meeting health and safety compliance issues. If visiting media are coming to New Zealand to look at your attractions or properties, or similarly for mills of visiting travel agents. Also will help get you into Tourism New Zealand offshore forays. And then the final area is really about compliance, and there are a lot of companies that just want to join Qualmark for compliance. If you're an ADS, or an approved destination status tour operator for Chinese tours, for instance, you need to be Qualmarked, and you need to use Qualmark activities. So we are sort of the police force in that area. Year one, when this was introduced, and just to give you sort of a sense of scale, of the 1,600 businesses we saw, 280 of them actually failed minimum requirements, which is not a good indictment of the tourism industry. A lot of those were around areas of health and safety, and easily rectified and moving on. But it shows that there is an importance, there is a need for these types of programs, particularly in an area like tourism, which really there are low and no costs or barriers to entry. So, thank you very much.